Have you ever stopped to think about what actually makes almost everything around us move? I mean, your car, obviously, but also those giant cranes, construction equipment, even the bus you might take.
Yeah, there's a core piece under there doing the work.
Exactly. It's the axle, often totally unseen but fundamental. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the global axle market.
Sounds good.
Our plan is we've got this really detailed source material from cognitive market research, and we want to pull out the key insights for you.
Right.
We'll look at the market dynamics, where the growth is happening regionally, and what the future might hold for this, really critical component.
It's kind of a shortcut to understanding a piece of the global economy that just keeps things rolling, literally.
Ah, exactly. Okay, let's unpack this.
So basically, an axle, it's the part that connects the wheels on a vehicle, right? It holds the weight,
Yeah.
but crucially, it's also often what transfers the power to make those wheels turn.
It sounds simple, but it's vital.
Oh, completely. It's not glamorous. You definitely won't see ads for the latest axle technology during the Super Bowl.
No.
But without it, nothing's going anywhere. It's the absolute workhorse.
And that's the key thing, isn't it? Every single time you see a car, a big rig, a bus, that huge excavator digging up the street,
Hmm?
you're looking at something that relies entirely on axles.
Mm.
This isn't just niche automotive stuff. It's foundational for transport, for industry, everything.
Totally. It underpins so much.
Okay, so now we know what it is and why it matters.
Yeah.
Let's zoom out. What does the global market actually look like?
Well, the overall picture is one of steady, consistent growth.
Okay, give us the numbers.
All right. So back in 2021, the global revenue was already pretty substantial, nearly $55 billion. That's 54.8 billion.
Wow, okay.
Then, looking ahead just a bit to 2025, the projection is for that to climb over $61 billion.
61.6 billion.
Yep. And the longer-term forecast out to 2033 pushes that number up to almost $78 billion. 77.7 million to be precise.
So nearly 78 billion, that's quite a climb over a decade or so. What's the growth rate look like annually?
It translates to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of just under 3%,
Yeah.
2.952%.
Okay, 2.95%. Steady is the word then.
It really is. And what's fascinating here, I think, is that consistency. It's not some volatile market, you
Yeah.
know. It
Yeah.
shows this foundational, like, enduring demand. It's not about trends. It's about the basic needs of industry and transportation just continuing globally.
It speaks to something really fundamental in how the world works, moving goods and people.
Exactly.
So that global picture is clear, steady upward trend. But like you said, the real dynamics often lie in the regions. Where are things moving fastest? This is where it gets really interesting, I bet.
Absolutely. The regional breakdown tells a much more varied story, and Asia-Pacific really stands out. It's the growth engine here.
The main engine.
Yeah, by far. That region alone was worth over $22.5 billion back in 2021, and it's projected to surge past $34 billion by 2033. That gives it the highest regional CAGR globally at over 3.5%, 3.509%.
3.5%. So significantly higher than the global average.
Right.
What's driving that? Which countries are pushing it?
Well, within Asia-Pacific, China is the biggest player in, sheer volume. It was already over $6.5 billion in 2021 and expected to hit over $10 billion by 2033.
Still massive growth there.
Definitely. But the fastest growth, the real acceleration, is actually happening in India.
India, okay.
Yeah, India is showing incredible momentum. Its CAGR is the highest in the whole region, over 4.3%.
Wow, 4.314%.
Exactly. So that market's going from around 3.2 billion up to nearly 5.4 billion by 2033. But it's not just them. You also see really strong, consistent growth in Japan, South Korea, Australia,
Right.
and also in places like Singapore, growing from about 500 million to over 800 million, and Southeast Asia generally moving from 1.7 billion towards 2.7 billion.
And I guess for you listening, you can picture it, right? All the rapid city building, the huge infrastructure projects, the manufacturing boom across so many of those nations.
Mm-hmm.
That all just directly translates into needing more trucks, more buses, more machinery, more axles.
Precisely. The demand is just baked into that development.
Okay, so Asia Pacific is clearly leading the packs.
Yeah.
Let's hop over to South America. What's the story there?
South America is also showing really healthy expansion, not quite Asia-Pacific levels, but still strong.
Okay.
The market there was just over $3 billion in 2021, $3.18 billion, and it's expected to reach almost $4.7 billion by 2033. That's a CIGR of about 3.3%, 3.26% actually.
Still above the global average then. Who's leading there? Is it mostly Brazil?
Brazil is certainly the biggest market, yeah. It's going from about 1.2 billion up towards 1.8 billion. But what's interesting is you see really strong growth rates in other countries too. Argentina's CIGR is actually over 3.8%.
Higher than Brazil's.
Yeah. And Chile's is also quite high, nearly 3.5%. So it suggests, a fairly broad-based expansion in the region, likely tied to industrial growth, maybe agriculture needing more equipment too.
Interesting. Okay, how about the Middle East? Often see big infrastructure spending there.
Exactly, and that's reflected in the numbers. The Middle East shows quite robust performance.
Right.
It's set to grow from just over $2.2 billion in 2021 to nearly $3.3 billion by 2033. The CAGR there is strong, around 3.2%, 3.174%.
And who are the key players driving that? Saudi Arabia, UAE.
You guessed it. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are definitely the powerhouses. Saudi's CIGR is about 3.3%, and the UAE's is even higher, over 3.7%.
Wow.
And like you said, it links directly back to those huge investments they're making in infrastructure, logistics hubs, trying to diversify their economies. That means lots of new vehicles, new equipment needed.
Makes sense. All right, let's turn to North America. A very different picture, I imagine. More mature market.
Yeah, mature, but still very significant in size. It was valued at over $14.5 billion back in 2021.
Still a huge chunk of the global market.
Oh, absolutely. And it's projected to grow to over $19 billion by 2033. The growth rate, the CAGR, is lower, though, about 2.3%, 2.316%.
Below the global average. And the U.S. dominates that, presumably.
Yes, the U.S. holds the lion's share, no surprise there, moving from over $12.4 billion up to over $16 billion.
Okay.
But interestingly, Canada's projected CAGR is actually higher than the U.S.'s. It's over 3.1%.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Mexico's is also steady, around 2.5%. So while the U.S. is the giant, there are pockets of somewhat stronger growth percentage-wise in Canada. It suggests maybe more replacement demand and sort of incremental expansion in the U.S. rather than exclusive new growth like in Asia.
Got it. Okay, across the Atlantic then? Europe, what's the scene there?
Europe's total market was around $10.9 billion in 2021, and it's expected to reach about $14.5 billion by 2033. The overall CAGR is nearly 2.5%. 2.48%.
So slightly below the global average, similar to North America in growth rate, roughly.
Roughly, yes. But Europe is quite diverse internally.
Oh.
Well, Germany shows pretty strong growth, for instance. It's moving from over 2.2 billion to over 3.1 billion with a TGR over 3.1%. So quite healthy.
Okay, Germany's strong.
The UK is also doing reasonably well, around 2.8% CAGR. But then you look at France, and its growth is slower, just under 2% CAGR.
Noticeable difference.
And then Russia, despite its size, it posted the slowest growth in the region that was analyzed here, less than 1% CAGR, growing only from about $550 million to just over $600 million by 2033.
Under 1%, wow.
Yeah, 0.912%. And countries like Switzerland and Luxembourg also showed relatively slower growth rates within the specific group analyzed in the source. So it really paints a picture of, different economic conditions, maybe different stages of industrial or automotive cycles across the continent.
Absolutely. A very mixed bag in Europe. Okay, that leaves Africa. What's the trend there?
Africa is definitely on an upward trend, though starting from a smaller base, of course. The market was about $1.4 billion in 2021.
1.4 to 6 billion.
And it's projected to grow to over $2 billion by 2033. That gives it a CAGR of about 2.4%, 2.414%.
Okay, so growing, but slightly slower than the global average pace. Any standouts within Africa?
South Africa makes a strong contribution. It shows decent growth, with a CAGR just under 3%, 2.985%.
Right.
It's set to grow from about $570 million to nearly $880 million. This likely reflects, ongoing development in key sectors like mining, agriculture, building infrastructure across various parts of the continent.
Okay, so we've toured the globe. If we try to sort of connect the dots now, what does the source material say are the main things driving all this growth globally?
Yeah, if you bring it all together, the analysis points to basically three key interconnected drivers.
Yeah.
First, just the ongoing relentless increase in automotive production around the world. More cars, more trucks, more demand. Simple as that, fundamentally.
Right, the base demand.
Second, those massive infrastructure development projects we talked about, especially visible in places like Asia and the Middle East, they just create this huge need for heavy machinery, construction vehicles, all needing robust axles.
Yeah, you can't build a highway or a port without them.
Exactly. And third, there's just this consistent, ongoing need for solid transportation solutions everywhere, across all sectors. Logistics, farming, moving goods, keeping existing fleets going and expanding them.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How these big global trends like urbanization in one part of the world, new factories elsewhere, infrastructure pushes, even farming becoming more mechanized, they all funnel down to create this steady, powerful demand for something like an axle.
Yeah, it really shows how interconnected things are. These fundamental components underpin so much economic activity.
So, wrapping up our deep dive then, the takeaway seems to be that the global axle market, maybe not the flashiest industry, but it's absolutely vital and it's expanding steadily, especially powered by growth in emerging economies and just fundamental global development needs. Well, it's literally what keeps the wheels of the world turning. Hopefully this has given you, our listener, a bit of a fresh look at a part that keeps everything moving.
Yeah, and maybe this raises an interesting question to think about going forward. As economies keep changing, and especially as new transport tech emerges, electric vehicles becoming mainstream, maybe autonomous trucks down the line,
Right.
how might the actual role, the design, the demand for axles shift or innovate in the coming decades? What does an axle look like in a fully electric, maybe autonomous world?
That's a great point. Will the fundamental need change or
Huh.
just the specifics? Something to ponder. And just a reminder, all the numbers and the insights we discussed today came directly from that detailed analysis by cognitive market research.
It did.
Absolutely. So we encourage you to keep an eye out for these often hidden but utterly essential components that make our modern world function. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack complex topics, bring you the key insights. Today, we're really digging into the global axle market. Now, you probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about axles, right? But they're sort of the unsung heroes in vehicle architecture. I mean, absolutely critical for stability, safety, performance, the works. So, our mission today, unpack the dynamics driving growth, the challenges too, and the really exciting innovations shaping this essential industry, all drawn from our analysis of the global axle market, Dynamics, Drivers, and Innovations report. Okay, so what's really pushing this market forward? First off, we're seeing this huge increase in global demand, passenger cars, commercial vehicles, especially in those rapidly growing economies. Think about freight transport expanding or just urban mobility solutions popping up everywhere. All that translates into a serious need for robust axle systems.
Exactly. And it's more than just holding the weight up. What's really crucial here is how fundamental axles are to the vehicle's stability, its handling, its safety profile, and yeah, its overall performance, especially with more vehicles on the road. They're truly the backbone.
Okay, but here's where I think it gets really interesting. The electric and hybrid vehicle boom. This changes things underneath the car quite a bit, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge shift. We're seeing the emergence of what are called e-axles.
Yeah.
And what's so innovative is that these units, they basically package the electric motor, the transmission, sometimes even the power electronics all together, right into the axle system.
Wow.
So as EV adoption keeps surging, these e-axles become vital, not just for, say, better battery range or performance, but their compact design fundamentally rethinks the vehicle's layout.
How so?
Well, it gives designers so much more freedom, maybe for patent space or battery placement or even, totally new kinds of vehicles. That's the real game changer.
Okay, so it's not just swapping a part, it's enabling a whole new design philosophy.
Yes,
That's
right.
Yeah, that's significant. But all this tech advancement doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
What about regulators?
Yeah.
US, Europe, Asia? They must be weighing in.
You bet. They're definitely not sitting on the sidelines. Governments are pushing really stringent emission standards, fuel efficiency targets.
Right.
And this directly influences axle design. It forces the development of lighter weight axles using new materials and also modular designs. Think of it like a Lego set approach,
Okay.
which helps vehicles hit those targets without losing strength, crucially. Plus, it speeds up development and allows more customization.
Makes sense. But it's probably not all smooth sailing, is it? There've got to be some hurdles.
Indeed, there always are. One pretty significant restraint is just the cost. These advanced technologies integrating sensors, the motors, and e-axles, using those lightweight composites, it all adds up.
Hmm.
So that can definitely slow down adoption, especially in markets where price is really sensitive. And then there's the volatility of raw material prices, steel, aluminum, composites.
Yeah, that's always a factor.
It really impacts profit margins and can make companies hesitate on big investments in new tech.
So it's that classic innovation challenge, right? The cutting edge costs more. But don't companies risk falling behind if they don't invest, even if it hits margins now? And what about integrating the e-axles themselves? Is that straightforward?
That's a really important question. No, it's not always straightforward. While e-axles are revolutionary, actually integrating them poses real challenges. You have to align them perfectly with existing battery systems, cooling, the whole drive chain. It's complex.
Right.
It demands significant R&D, a lot of engineering effort. It's like fitting a complex new piece into an already intricate puzzle.
Got it.
And yeah, that can definitely lead to delays in getting new vehicle models out the door. Adds to the cost, too.
Okay, so we've covered drivers, we've covered restraints. Let's shift to the future. What trends are really redefining this market? What's the axle of tomorrow look like?
Well, a huge one is the continued rise of those e-axles and the modular platforms we mentioned. These compact integrated units aren't just about efficiency anymore. They simplify the whole vehicle design. Less complexity.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, they're fast becoming the new industry standard.
And the materials themselves, still evolving.
Definitely. Manufacturers are pushing hard on lightweight and composite materials. We're talking high-strength steels, advanced aluminum alloys, even carbon fiber composites in some cases.
Why the push?
It's crucial for cutting vehicle weight that directly improves fuel economy, reduces emissions, but you still need the durability, especially for trucks, SUVs, the heavier vehicles, so these materials are key.
And I hear axles are getting smarter too, intelligent systems.
They really are. We're seeing axles equipped with sophisticated sensors, telematics. They can monitor things like load pressure, temperature, overall performance, all in real time.
Okay, that sounds like more than just cool tech.
Oh, it is. It has real benefits. It drastically improves safety, for one. It also enables predictive maintenance. So, fixing potential issues before they cause a breakdown. That means less downtime.
Huge for fleet managers.
Exactly. It significantly boosts efficiency for commercial fleets.
So wrapping this up then, it feels like the axle market is really entering a completely new phase. Innovation, sustainability, electrification, these seem to be the defining words.
That sums it up perfectly. It's this fusion, really. Smart tech, lightweight materials, all driven by that regulatory pressure. It's fundamentally reshaping the entire competitive landscape. The companies that adapt, that invest smartly, they'll lead the way.
So think about this next time you're out on the road. Those unsung heroes beneath the car, they're quietly at the heart of some of the biggest shifts happening in transportation, right under our noses. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much more efficient, how much smarter can the humble axle get in just the next few years? Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.